Hello, I'm so excited to be here. Akash, good morning.
Good morning. Happy to talk to you again, Rachel. Thanks so much.
So just to give the context, we are recording a special session, a special guest lecture with Akash Kiss-Dozsai, who is volunteering to talk to us about his amazing experience in his startup. I'll provide some background. Akash is a seasoned product builder with over a decade of experience, having successfully taken more than 10 products to market. He started his career as a strategy consultant for 5 years, but then he decided to move to Berlin and start building stuff. Since then, he's been passionately building products, shaping user experience, and driving impactful innovation. And since 2020, Akos has been co-founder and CEO of a company called Airtime. Airtime is a user engagement platform empowering product teams to validate user needs fast. In the last 2 years alone, Akosh has conducted over 300 user interface and a lot of surveys. In the seminar today, Akosh will showcase a number of validation techniques to verify what works and what doesn't work for users and ensure that we find the real problem that we want to address with customers. He will show real-time validation projects he ran for his startup Airtime and explain how to use these techniques successfully. As reality is, not everything worked as expected, and he will also share some stories about dead ends and pitfalls that you want to avoid. Thank you so much, Akosh, for being here with us, and the stage is yours.
It's my pleasure. Thanks so much, Rachel. Okay, I'm gonna put you now off the stage, and let's kick things off. Hi, everyone. Oh, wow. I am not used to seeing myself on a full screen. In the last 2 years, I've been running webinars with guests from famous tech companies like Spotify, Google, or Doodle, and I always had the pleasure of asking them questions and learning from them how they do product discovery, how they do interviews. For instance, one of the very extremely insightful sessions that I had was about turning customer interviews into human conversations as opposed to interrogations. One of the things that can happen to you that you want to learn so much if it's your product. Like, think about it. Like, Airtime is my baby. I spend so much time with it. I get to talk to a customer. I just want to, pick their minds and learn all the things from them. And that can easily get you to a point where you just shoot off questions. And it feels like an interrogation, and the other side closes up. But I'm running ahead of myself. Rachel gave a very kind and short introduction about myself. I think that's what you need to do. I'm the CEO of Airtime. The last 4 years, I've been doing a lot of user interviews, focus groups, and other kinds of validation methods for my company. I think what is also very important for you to know that whatever I say and whatever I share, treat it as another data point out there, maybe a qualified one, but it's not the only truth. I didn't do everything perfectly. I tried to learn from the processes that I did, but I think it's most important. So there'll be some tricks and successes that I think I achieved, and for the rest, we'll see. But I'd let you learn from that. Last thing, if you have any questions, I know this is like me broadcasting to you. It's almost like television. It's easy to lean back and say, okay, let the television go in the background. But I'd love this to be useful to you. I'm here for that, not to present myself or get any kind of like PR activities from here. So feel free to post comments. Feel free to ask questions. I'm gonna like jump on them right away. There's no Q&A in the end, so let's just turn this into an interactive session. Okay, I talked way too long on this intro section. So here are the things that I would like to cover today. I would like to cover discovery interviews. Okay, I'm going to define everything later on. Discovery interviews, number 1. Number 2, focus groups combined with opportunity scoring. Number 3, I'm going to talk about surveys, the kind of surveys that I did. Number 4, explainer videos. Number 5, concierge service. And then I'm going to have, I called it a message market fit campaign, but I think ultimately it's an A/B test. Okay, so we put that in the A/B test category. Now, I'd like to start with discovery interviews for my company, and just as a teaser, what I'm putting out here is a discussion guide that I developed early on. This is the very early days, like 2021, late 2020, when I started working together with my co-founder, and we weren't even sure about the solution that we wanted to build. We just thought there's a problem out there, and this problem is that there are a lot of user insights concentrated in the heads and in the folders of user research departments out there, but only a fraction of them trickle down to the rest of the company, to product managers and to people who actually build product, or to decision makers who should be aware of these insights. So one of the first things that we came up with was a discussion guide. And in this discussion guide, and this is a standard format that I've adopted, what I always set for myself are certain goals. What is the hypothesis that I want to test? I'm running now 10 interviews. What do I want to learn? What do I want to prove or disprove? So these were my goals. And in this case, you see, like, the goal number one was that I wanted to understand I call them mentors, workflows and job to be done with regards to analysis and synthesis stage of the user research process. Then I came up with a bunch of questions, all the things that I want to ask. And there you go. A lot of questions, 3 pages. You see, this was the first document that we produced. Now, if we back out for a second, I'm going to come back to full screen. Why did we do discovery interviews? And a discovery interview simply means that you recruit for someone, you find someone who is your target audience. This is very important. The persona has to fit, all right? And we use that for 3 things. One, we wanted to understand if the pain points that we believed were important pain points, are they real? Are they real for our potential clients? Number 2, are they important enough? Because there are a lot of pain points that we have in our lives. My favorite example is my bike chains, okay? They're rusty. They're really bad. I should have replaced them 1,000 times already in the last years. I haven't done so. Okay, so there you go. There's a pain point, but no action. It's not important. So it matters a lot. And number 3, I think this is one of the most important learnings that I had over the last 4 years. The best proxy for future behavior of customers and people is their past behavior. So what we were interested in is, are these people that we're talking to, are they already doing something to solve the problem that we want to solve? Do they spend time on it? Do they spend budget on it? Okay, so these are pain points. Are the pain points real? Are they important enough? And are they doing something about that? So I'm going to put the discussion guide back on. Again, if you have any questions, if I lost you somewhere, if there's a term I'm using that is not clear, there's no wrong questions, only good questions. So put them in the comments. So I'm going to put this discussion guide back here. And I want to tell you what worked well and what didn't work well. Now, in this presentation mode, the font is quite small, and I haven't found a way to zoom in a StreamYard. But what I can tell you is that the structure of the discussion guide is it starts with personal stories. Okay, so it's in the icebreaker section and in the intro section, but it starts with asking people about how they became a UX researcher. What's their story? What is an experience from the past that they feel proud of? This is something that I learned from earlier research projects that I did, is starting with personal stories. It's an easy start. Most people like sharing success stories from their past. It's one of the best ways to ease up. You can ask people about the weather. You can ask where they're from, but they're not really icebreakers, right? They are fillers because we all feel awkward. So why not ask some personal stories? And that turned out to be really a really good icebreaker in the end. And the reason this is important is because a lot of times you're asking people, like here I'm asking people about their research processes. Okay, in each company there are things that are very personal experiences to them, something that they may be not that proud of. If you want people to open up and share their honest thoughts with you, you have to establish this rapport. You have to establish a connection at the beginning of your interview. So this worked really well. Number two, if you're doing interviews, something that I can recommend is in our case, what I did was go from company level to personal level. Okay, so going from generic to specific, it creates a very good flow, and you give your participant a bit of time to get to the personal level. But at the same time, what is really important is, take our example here. We want you to understand the workflows and the job to be done. But our clients, they don't live, their workflows don't live in isolation, right? Maybe they're doing these workflows at a home office. Maybe they are interrupted in their workflows because they are in an open space. There's so many things that happen around us, and going from the company level, going from a high level, allows you to have a sense of this environment of the topic that you're exploring. Get this off now. One of the things that also worked well is one of the questions, and this question I'm just going to come back here, where we ask people, it's right in here. We ask people to guide us through the last project that they did, end to end. And the reason that I like this question is because people like to, including myself, we like to talk in hypotheticals. Oh, this is what the perfect process looks like. Okay, if I'm doing this process at Airtime, this is how I do discovery interviews. This is what I'm doing right now. But when I'm forced to tell you about the last discovery interviews that I did, my story becomes a lot more nuanced. There are a lot of details that I can add, and these are not hypothetical details. These are true details. Maybe I have an aspiration to ask only open-ended questions. Did I do that, or did I fail because I just cannot stop talking and I keep asking, and I ask 3 questions in a row instead of stopping after the first one? This is something that you can only find out if you ask for a concrete example. The reason I'm asking for the latest example is because the human mind is, well, first of all, we forget things, and we just tend to fill up our memories with a bit of fake memories. It happens with all of us. So your best chance of getting true insights is to ask for the latest workflow, which has been in the last few days, ideally. Okay, amazing. I have a question from Chen, which is about how long is the discussion, and can you cover the questions in a single session? So very, very subtle question, because you see, I have all these points here, all the questions. So first of all, what I do is I only ask questions with these hollow bullet points, okay? And when I ask someone to take me through their project, I'm expecting to learn these details. And these are follow-up questions, and I only ask them if my participant didn't cover them. So this is one thing. Second thing, I also have nice to have questions here, and what I do is I skip them. I'm not sure it's best practice. This is what I do. Maybe I'm too curious and I want to learn too many things. So just make sure that you have a list of must-have questions. And the way I think about it, in I don't know, if you ask a question, take like at least 3 minutes per question to get an answer. Sometimes you have to qualify. Sometimes your participant diverges. There's a lot of things that can happen. Like time really flows very fast when you do discovery interviews. In terms of how long, I'm going to give you a lawyer's answer, which is it depends. But it depends on what you want to learn. Like you see, in my case, I had 3 goals in this discussion guide, right? And in total, this was a 2-hour long interview. This is extremely long. Okay, and I didn't pay for it. I was lucky enough to find participants who were willing to go all the way in. If you're asking me what is easy on what is customer or usual on the market, it's somewhere between 30 minutes and 60 minutes. Anything below 30 minutes isn't enough. You need to break the ice. You need to create rapport. You have to start from generic and go to personal or a specific level. You wouldn't have time to that. So 30 minutes is the absolute minimum. 60 minutes is amazing if you can get to that, because it really allows you to ask 5 whys, to dig to root causes. So aim for that. I hope that was helpful. Now, where am I? Okay. Things that didn't work well for me. One of the things that I did, I'm a big advocate of continuous discovery, continuously talking to your customers. So I organize interviews every week. Every week I talk to 3, 4, 5 potential customers out there and participants. That led, while it was extremely helpful, I think it also led to an information overload. I didn't have the time and the means to process that. So what I ended up having is a lot of anecdotal evidence, where when I talked to my team, or I talked to my co-founder, I told him, hey, what this is, I just came out of a call, and this is what this customer told me. Not good. It's not good because it's not a pattern. It's anecdotal evidence. And it's not good because humans have a bias, which is called recency bias. It means that we tend to attribute more and higher importance to memories that are very recent, but they're not necessarily the most valuable insights that you have for your product and for your company. So what I urge you to do is think about how much time do you really have? And if you can talk to customers continuously, amazing. But then make sure that you either have someone who helps you process that, or you have the tools, you have the infrastructure to do that, because otherwise you have you feel discomfort. Yeah, of course, I'm on top of the game. I'm talking to customers all the time. I know what they want, but it's an illusion. I had stories and not patterns, and what we're interested in patterns. The second thing that I didn't do well is I didn't segment my participants properly. And what it means is that in any given week, I may have talked to a user researcher who's the first researcher in a seed stage startup. And the next day, I talked to a researcher who's at an enterprise in a large research department. Okay, they're like very opposite ends. I'm deliberately making this example. But what happens is since I was talking to multiple personas, all their requirements sort of molded into one. And then what you end up with is a requirement list that doesn't really satisfy anyone. Now that I said it, it sounds so trivial. And I'm thinking Akos, come on, you can do better. But it's when you're in the process and when you're in the daily grinder, it's very easy to forget this segmentation aspect. So what I would urge you to do is try to find a few segmentation criteria that you believe are accurate. They may not be, but it's a starting point. And make sure that you talk to different customer segments, but make sure that you label who you talk to, and make sure that you're not putting all their requirements together. All right. Any other questions on this? Because then I'm going to go on to focus groups. All right. Question from Rachel. How do you find customers and prospects that are willing to be interviewed? I can give you the cocky answer from Y Combinator. If you can't find, it's not an important problem. I don't like that answer. I don't think it's that simple. Here's what I did. I started with my network, went on LinkedIn, made a search, and looked at, okay, who are the right profiles? Now, bear in mind, on LinkedIn, you may come across good friends. Okay, so just be aware that it's so easy to write to friends and family and acquaintances, and they'd be willing to provide you feedback. Also, remember, feedback is free. Everybody can give that. They don't suffer the consequences, making wrong decisions based on feedback. So I think that's the low-hanging fruit is start with your network. What I also did is I joined a number of Slack groups. In my case, Slack groups and Slack communities that were formed around user researchers or product discovery. I think that posting there, you'll always find early adopters who are willing to talk to you. And the third thing is, so these are sort of networks that you can tap into. I think that's not the only important ingredient. The other ingredient is how do you recruit? What do you write? Because if you have a snappy paragraph that talks about the pain point that a lot of people out there are experiencing, then the chances for you that it resonates with someone and someone says, yeah, of course, I'm willing to do that. It will solve a problem that I have. I don't know. I'm a designer. I hate something in whatever tool that I'm using, and oh my God, here's Akash coming around, and he's using AI to. No, he's not even using AI. This is very important. So no solution, just the problem field that you're experiencing. So this is a second important point. Third point, it's a value exchange ultimately. People give you their time. What do you give in advance for that, right? Is it a community? Maybe you're building a community and you bring like-minded people together. Is it knowledge? Maybe you share the results of your study afterwards. Maybe you have a tool that could be interesting for them, so you give them beta access. Think about it. What makes most sense, but also think of this as a value exchange. You want to learn something. People who join your calls, they also want something in return. Okay. Let's go to the next one before I run out of time. You see, my father is a philosopher, and I grew up always arguing and talking. So my biggest enemy is the clock. I'm gonna watch that now. Focus groups and opportunity scoring. You know, focus groups, how do I put it simply? It's like a discovery interview where you have more participants, not just one, okay? Why is this an extremely helpful tool? In my experience, it was helpful because when I talk one-on-one with people, they sort of respond to my questions. It's not really a conversation. But if there are two or more people and more participants in a focus group, then all of a sudden people start building on each other's arguments. And person A responds to a question, and then person B says, oh, that reminds me of X. And then you have like a lot of additional depth that you can explore. What did I use focus groups for? I used them to, one, prioritize problems. I'm going to show you in a second how we did that. Two, I used them to understand what current solutions are my customers or potential customers using. And Number three, it was to understand workflows. So I'm going to put on the screen something from this is from the early stages. Okay, so this is a Miro board where what we did, you see the workflow steps is processing, analysis, synthesis, sharing. This is the workflow of a user researcher. And we had a number of ideas. These are like feature concepts, feature ideas. Let's call them feature ideas that we wanted to test with our customers. So we created these rudimentary designs that basically snapshots, or in this case, a GIF. I thought oh yeah, there we go. We created a GIF that sort of gave an idea of what a feature will look like. And for each of these feature ideas, we asked our participants to fill out something that is called an opportunity score. The idea of the opportunity score is that for a particular workflow step and a particular feature, we asked people how important it is on a scale of 1 to 5, where 5 is it's absolutely critical. I just can't live without that. And at the same time, we asked them about how satisfied they are with the current solution that they have for that problem. The idea of opportunity scoring is that you should go after problems that are high importance and low satisfaction with the current solution. Okay, why is that? If I have a really important problem and I'm sort of okay with the solution that I have, then it's going to be very difficult to convince me to change. One of my webinar guests a number of months ago told me that when you build software, your biggest competitor are not the other competitors. The biggest competitor is doing nothing. Doing nothing meaning not changing a current workflow or a current process or a current setup that a potential customer has. Okay, so this is what we did. Maybe just a side note, all of you designers out there, you will don't laugh. There's one insight that I had, and I'm saying this as a very non-qualified designer. Our original designs were made in Balsamic as a low fidelity designs. We had the experience that they didn't really convey the functionality good enough. And this sort of somewhere in the middle designs, they're not high fidelity. Nobody thinks this is the actual thing that's going to pop up in the future. So they're not commenting. People did not comment on the design, did not comment on the text, but they commented on the concept, which was really helpful for us. Now, what worked well? What worked well is recruiting. The way I recruited people for these focus group discussions and opportunity scoring was that I told them that I'm creating a mentor circle. And this mentor circle aims to explore problems around analysis and synthesis. I didn't lie about my intention. I told them like, hey, ultimately, I'd like to use these learnings to build a better product. But now I have 20 of you here. Here's XYZ from great companies that you also know. This is also a community where you can share outside of the focus groups. You are now connected. You share this problem, and you can share insights and stories, approaches around that. So this sort of not just talk to me, I give you an Amazon voucher, and then let's get this done. But this building a community, it worked really well in my context. What also worked well, I told you, are these wireframes. They turned out to be the right fidelity for good feedback on the concepts and the features. And last thing, I'm just gonna reiterate what I said. What's really worked well is that people started building on each other's arguments. It's something that you can foster as a host, but I was really astonished, like how well that played out. Okay, I tell you my big mistake. Opportunity scoring. Someone puts 1 here. 5 here, right? Oh, sorry, the other way around. My math is killing me. 1 here. No brainer. Should we build this? Of course. Well, I shouldn't have. That was my learning. And the learning that has something to do with another dimension here that is very important, and that I already alluded to is doing nothing. Like maybe I have an important process. Maybe I'm unsatisfied with the current setup, but never ever underestimate the risk that people take. Like, think about it. You're a product manager in a company. You're using a certain tool. If you introduce a new tool and it doesn't work out, it's on you, right? It's a risk that you're taking. It's anybody who introduces a new tool. It's a risk that you're taking. There's a learning curve. There's a learning curve to using a new tool, like all the shortcuts. It may be small. It may be just a few hours, but it's not trivial. Just because somebody said it's an important problem, and somebody said, yeah, I'm unsatisfied with the current solution, it doesn't equate to action. And I think this was one of my biggest mistakes, that I assumed that this will lead to action. So if I build features that have these opportunity scores, then I'll have more action. All right, I stopped the sharing, and now I see a question here. The process you're presenting sounds a bit chaotic. It was. How do you organize it for upper management insights? I think this is a very good point. What I showed you wasn't on the Miro board. It wasn't meant to be presented to upper management. So for upper management, I would distill a version of this. So in here, you will have certain key learnings, right? Once you go through the and summarize key thoughts of the participants, you will have, I don't know, 10, 15, maybe 5 insights where you say, okay, it turned out that from all the things that we tested, tagging is the biggest pain point. So I think one of my key messages would be to not present the whole thing, but distill down to your key learnings. Only present them. You maybe you had 100, but if you're presenting to the upper management, make sure that you drill down to something that really matters to them and for their decision making. That's my quick take on that. Otherwise, also have to say, I'm not the best person to ask. Being the CEO of Airtime, I never had to present them to an upper management. So I'm sure there are a lot more people who are more knowledgeable out there. But my 2 cents is boil it down to the attention span and in terms of relevance to what the upper management is looking for. All right, we're going to move on to the next one. The next one is surveys. All right, I use surveys for two purposes. Purpose number 1, I've been doing webinars, and I'm always on the hunt for topics that I should be covering. Like, what are people interested in? I may think, I would love to hear more about this topic. Localizing a product in India. There you go. Is it something that people are interested in? I don't know. I'm interested in it. So I wanted to learn what would they like to hear about? And second, I also used it to validate the most important thing. And this comes from a video of Y Combinator. And for those of you who don't know Y Combinator is a very successful early stage investor from the US. They invested in companies like Dropbox or Airbnb early on, and I think in the meantime, they turned out like a bunch of unicorns and successful investments. Now, they have a startup library, and in this library, there's a section where they tell you how to talk to customers and how to talk to users. And the questions that they propose is to ask customers, first of all, 1, what is the hardest thing about doing X? Okay, so performing a certain task. This is where you think there's a problem. Then asking two, why is it hard? And number three is, what don't you love about the solution that you already tried? Okay. So what's the hardest about doing X? Why is it hard? And what is it that you don't like or hate about the solution? Good questions. Now, I also have to say I failed miserably with surveys. I kept surveys short. I tried to do everything that you read in the books. I got horrendous response rates. I sent out. I have 11,000 subscribers. I sent out in one of my newsletters that, hey, I want to hear your voice. Tell me, what company do you want to hear about? What topics? Do you know how many answers I got? Zero. It's intimidating. I don't know if zero is worse or one, but that was painful. And I thought, like, hey, I'm doing something good. It didn't work. For the what's the most important? I even have I can show to you. This was the webinar survey that I sent out. You see, I wrote a nice little text, an introduction. Help me to pick topics. Like I'm making this for you. And then 3 questions, quite short, and I distributed to my newsletter subscribers. I had a similar experience. I think I got 11 answers on the what's the most important problem that you have. Now, what is so if you ask me what worked well, nothing. Like I suck at surveys. I'm bad. Don't follow me. There are people who are better. I can tell you what I did, and this didn't work. The only thing that did work, there's one thing, is posting surveys in LinkedIn groups. I don't know why, but LinkedIn algorithm sort of pushes that, and but there you can get like very simple answer. You know, you ask a single question, option 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that sort of worked, but there I don't know who answered. Okay, so that's a bit of a bummer. Why didn't it work? It's typically not something that I didn't cover this with the other approaches, but I wanted to make sure that I reflect on why I failed with surveys, and I think it has to do with 2 things. So the number one thing why I believe I failed has to do with timing, right? I think about it. I distributed these surveys in a newsletter. I sent it out on a Wednesday afternoon. I don't know, like most likely I just didn't catch people in the mindset and at the time of the day when they were ready to think about what the biggest problems are for the days. If they have families, they were probably on the way to pick up their kids from school or from kindergarten. Yeah, you go home, you open it up in the evening. Well, maybe it's Netflix. You know, my survey is competing with Netflix, spending time with your friends and partners. I didn't think about it this way, but like ultimately, I'm also competing for time. And I didn't ask simple questions like asking what's the most difficult. It's not trivial. Like people have to think about how you formulate that. So I think that was one thing that I didn't think about, the timing and how to and the distribution of these surveys. And I think what was also important is the lack of value exchange. What did I offer? I didn't really offer anything straight away, right? I told people that if you answer this question, then maybe down the road, in a few months, I may do a webinar which covers this topic. As you know, and I think that's if we zoom out a little bit, if I ask you to do something now and what I give you in return is something that may materialize in 6 months down the road, what's the value that you put on that? I don't see any of you, but I think it's zero. I think I'm fairly confident it's zero. You discount it. So these were I think this was like a conceptual failure on my side to think about how to provide value exchange. It has to be something closer to today that I give. Maybe monetary, maybe an Amazon voucher, maybe a lottery that you get an iPad. Don't like that. I've never met anybody who won an iPad filling out a survey, but it's out there. Companies are doing that. All right. The next thing is explainer videos. Now, what did I use explainer videos for? I used the explainer video to introduce a new concept and then try to learn what people think about that. It's about a 1-minute video. I'm going to put it on stage here and just let you watch it to give you a flavor. This is not the best explainer video out there, but this is one example.
Customer feedback from a variety of different sources: social media, support tickets, voice of customer platforms, and much more. These channels are often owned by different teams, and the feedback is in free text form, which makes it extremely difficult to extract meaningful insights from this mass of information. At Insight Labs, we are working on a crowdsourced customer feedback analysis platform to solve this problem in 4 steps. The first step is to aggregate all customer feedback in one place. We have built connectors that can move customer feedback from various tools to your data warehouse to enable centralized analysis. The second step is to define a taxonomy used to label feedback. By defining a taxonomy, you define what information you're interested in and what business questions you want to answer with the aggregated customer feedback. Step 3 is to crowdsource feedback labeling within your organization. In addition to efficiently spreading the researcher's workload, the crowdsourcing method gives people first-hand exposure to what the users are saying and helps develop customer empathy. To begin crowdsourced labeling, the researcher can automatically send out invitations to participants, and the participants can join via a link in an email. Once accepting the invitation, participants can start labeling feedback. Multiple labels can be applied to the same feedback, and it's even possible to highlight and label specific parts of the text. The researcher can provide detailed instructions to participants so they know which labels to use and when. Labeling tests can be completed in small batches, for example 10 at a time for each participant. Step 4 is doing the analysis. You can drill down into all customer feedback in a single place, enabling you as the researcher to continually extract insights about customer preferences and behavior. You can identify conversion killers, churn triggers, convert distractors to promoters, and you can support the product team making the right choices about feature prioritization. If you're interested in our platform or want to share any feedback, we would love to have a 20-minute chat with you. Let us know.
All right. So there you go. That's one example. Was it too long? Did you tune out? I don't know. But think about it. If this was the right, I think it gives you a flavor of topics, like structure, right? First, we talked about the problem. Then we said we have a 4-step solution. And then we had an ask. What are we asking for? We were asking for a 20-minute discussion. Okay, so we use this explainer video to convey a product concept and distribute it to recruit people and tell them, okay, this is what we would like to talk to you about. It was actually quite useful because we ended up discarding this idea. It was a good idea on paper. It didn't work, but I think ultimately, maybe let's talk about what worked. What worked really well is to send around this explainer video. It's a lot more engaging than writing a long text, maybe in an email, maybe in a social post, and try to convey a fairly complex workflow and idea to people. So I think that's on the positive side, and it was also much faster and much more concise in summarizing this concept than I could ever been personally. Human speech is full of filler words. We speak in long sentences, so this was again concise and good way to convey that concept. I distributed this in Slack groups as well. that was a miserable failure. I thought like when people watch it, then they will sign up and talk to me and go on an interview. I don't know. Maybe it was too long. Maybe I should have gone for a 20-second teaser to get people just to make them curious and interested in talking to us. Also, we didn't get any written feedback. So if you like distributing the explainer video and expecting people to comment on it, it never materialized. I think for interviews to recruit people, it was pretty good. It had the only downside that when people watch this video and then you start asking them about what do you think about step number 2, who remembers what was step number 2? You don't. I don't remember it. I don't know. And it's not a slideshow. You can't click back. We have to search for it. And even if you search for it, it's an explainer video. So I have to listen to it. It's not, the key messages are not written on the video. So when one of my learnings was that when I get into an interview, I need something more static, maybe like these mid-fidelity screenshots of the solution, different ones that I used in the explainer video to get good quality feedback. All right. Bear with me. Two more to go. All right, next one. Concierge services. Do you know, does anybody know what a concierge service is? Concierge service, what is a concierge, right? You go in a hotel, you go in the Ritz-Carlton, okay? You show your gold card, Ritz-Carlton gold card. And you go up to the concierge and you tell them, oh, well, I would like to play table tennis somewhere close to Union Square in San Francisco. Can you help me? And then he'll do it for you, right? Not send an AI, but pick up the phone, look around on their own, and then organize that table tennis session for you. So a concierge, the idea of a concierge service is that just as a concierge in a hotel, you perform some activities and tasks for your clients, in most cases manually, and this process should cover the value that your product will provide later on, right? So I'm doing it manually for you. You get the results. You get the results now through my manual work. In the future, you'll get it through using the product, right? That's the idea. And there's a few amazing things about concierge services. So first of all, you can test. What I used it for is to test willingness to pay for the value. Is it something that people are willing to spend their time on and money? And the second thing is that if you perform a concierge service, you're almost like an employee of that company. So you're exploring the company's processes in details, the tools that they are using, the hurdles that they have, the bottlenecks, and everything. I'm going to put on the screen a concierge service proposal that we did back in the days. And this was an idea of a platform that has the aim to involve people in the company in user research sessions. And the idea, the underlying idea was that exposing employees to customers would give them more empathy, and we will have a more like shared knowledge of what customers really want. Otherwise, people can become really opinionated, and then there are a lot of opinions in the room. How do you decide? Typically, how you decide is along hierarchy. Who is the loudest? Who is the most higher up in the ladder gets to decide in the end. So we had this proposal telling what kind of software that we build, and we told them, okay, this is what we will deliver as a concierge service. We will do a number of things, and here's a little time plan of how that will play out. Okay, so here's the thing that worked. Nobody paid us. Okay, nobody took our concierge service. Is that bad? No. It proved that we weren't solving an important problem. Okay, I'm sorry to say that I can't tell you how performing the concierge service was. Would have been insightful, but failing at selling that concierge service was an equally important learning. I think so. Nevertheless, concierge service is important. It's a valid way to prove willingness to pay and also learn about your customers' processes. One of the values there is that you get to shadow your customers. You get to see them in their environments. And we always talk about like validation methods that are active. I'm sending out a survey. I'm doing an interview. I'm sharing an explainer video. Observation is an equally important method to understand how people act and what they do. So and you can learn a lot from them. All right. So much for concierge service. Sorry, I wish I could share more on that, but as I said, disproving is equally important. Last point, and I have 3 minutes. So I'm gonna do that quickly. I'm gonna call it a message market fit campaign. It falls into the A/B testing category. Here's what I did. I was curious about what kind of messages would resonate with potential clients to become leads, right? So this is not a product validation. It's more like a validation on the sales. How do I go out and how do I start attracting people for the product that I have? And in here, what I did was I was focusing on pain points. And the way I built this validation is that I had a message automation that I send to customers. You've seen like I had this example where from LinkedIn where I added people. I told them, okay, this is a topic that I'm focusing on. It's analyzing qualitative interviews. Then in the next one, what I did was I went more specific and I asked them, okay, what's your experience about speaker detection? I knew that many market research companies have problems with speaker detection, especially in focus groups. I didn't ask, is this a pain point for you? But more like a question. And if it's a big pain point, then it will trigger an emotional response and people get back to me. What I also did was that I shared, I had this giveaway. I told them like, hey, in my experience, the transcript quality deteriorates with lower audio quality. Okay, so I shared something in return before even asking for anything. And then if I got no response, then I went all in and I said, hey, by the way, I'd like to hear more about your process. Would you hop on a call with me? And the reason is that I'm building a solution that aims to solve this. I think the reason that I really like this experiment is because on LinkedIn, you can add about 20 people every day, and you can very quickly A/B test various pain points. It doesn't have to be speaker detection. It could be the quality of transcript. It could be something else. So you can very quickly A/B test what messages resonate with your target audience, and at the same time, get numbers and get something tangible. What didn't work well is that I don't know the explanation for this, but a campaign, the exact same campaign, exact same targeting that worked really well in Europe didn't work for me in the US. I don't know. It just didn't work. And the problem is, I don't know why I don't know. There's just, you can't learn more from this experiment. That's all you learn. So you will have some, like an understanding why or not the why, but this message works. Why it works in certain country and not in another is something that you have to explore in interviews or in other types of qualitative researches. I'm going to wrap up. Rachel, I'm going to put you back on the stage for a second. Okay. So I hope I covered everything. Is there anything else that you would feel important as a last note, last thought to share?
Well, just to say that it was amazingly honest, that you shared all your experiences. I felt so sorry for all these tests that didn't run well for you. I'm happy that you see the bright side of it. For example, with the concierge services, that it failed, but it's a good failure because it prevented you from building something that nobody would pay for. So it's great. But I'm like feeling all these cases of dead ends, that you tried something and it just didn't work, and there's not much to say other than, well, sometimes it doesn't work. So I think the message is, don't stop when things don't work. Try in another way. And you presented so many ways of talking to your customers, finding what they want, and addressing real needs when you find the final match. So thank you for sharing all of this. It was inspiring. I could create at least 10 LinkedIn posts now from your insights, really. So I may script your thoughts and tips and create a few LinkedIn insights, which is really great. So
absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us and for sharing all of this.
It was my pleasure, and I think, Rachel, you summarized it better than I could have. There's no bad or good method out there. Just because I failed with the 2 surveys, it doesn't mean that surveys are bad. I think what is important is that you try to reflect on why did I get 0 responses? What is it that I could do differently next time? And just move on from there. This is 1, and 2, obviously, for certain problems, to explore certain problems, there are certain methods that work. So asking what's the most difficult in your job and why is it hard? Well, with all likelihood, it shouldn't be a survey question. It should be an interview question that I explore. So there's also this angle of picking the right methodology for the right purpose. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Wish you a nice Friday. Take care.